your left foot.
Whoa,
Yeah.
another day.
Dabba-dee, nigga.
I take your pain away. Some people talk about you like they know all about you. When you get down, they doubt you. And when you dip it on the scene, yeah, they talking about it. Cause they can't dip on the scene, but you talk about it. Talking about it. When you get elevated, they love it or they hate it. You dance up on them haters. Keep getting funky on the scene while they jumping around you. They trying to take all of your dreams, but you can't allow it. Cause baby, whether you're high or low, or whether you're high or low, you got to chip on the tightrope. Chip on the tightrope. Baby, baby, whether you're high or low, baby, whether you're high or low, you got to chip on the tightrope. Now let me see you do the tightrope. And I'm still tipping on it, 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 on it. Yeah. See, I'm not walking on it or trying to run around it. This ain't no acrobatics. You either follow or you lead. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Or keep on blaming the machine. And now I'm talking about it. Talking about it. I can't complain about it. I gotta keep my balance and just keep dancing on it. We getting funky on the scene and you know about it. Like a star on the screen. Watch me tip all on it. Then baby, whether I'm high or low, baby, whether you're high or low, you gotta tip on the tightrope. Yeah, tip on the tightrope. Baby, baby, whether you're high or low, baby, whether you're high or low.
Hi, Victoria.
Hey
How
there.
are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
I wanted to thank you for giving me this opportunity. It's an absolute honor. I know I wanted to host a spotlight for the book that you're working on about a year ago. So, you know, I knew eventually we'd get around to something, but for you to graciously volunteer your time for a couple of sessions on this is immeasurable. It really is. So thank you for that.
Happy to help.
So for anybody who's going to watch this on replay or catches this live, I'd like to introduce Victoria Ann Darling, whom has been a host and leader to the Butch Femme Stone community for a long time, and not only that, but has also published books on the topic, and as another one coming. Yes, and
Yes.
and you've also got, I mean, an entire resume that casts itself at least 3 paragraphs long over mine, and it's I know you're like me. You're like, you know, it's hard to take all the goodness and people lifting you up. But let me tell you something. Some people need to be lifted up, and I'm gonna count you in that. I'm gonna count you in that crowd,
Okay.
because I'm just ever grateful for you. And so this session 1 for Butch Femme Stone Identity is you were ever so kind to also draft, you know, a list that we will loosely go off of for things to cover. This session 1 will be discovering stone identity and defining that for yourself once you've discovered it. A few years ago, I hosted a thread in the main group, Butch Femme main group. It went a whole weekend, had over 1,000 comments, and to see folks come into that thread and learn by listening and reading from participants from the stone community that they now had a name and another layer to their identity. They knew now that they were stone identified. It was wonderful to see people actually discovering it and didn't know that it was a whole thing, not just a whole thing, but there's an entire community.
Yeah.
Stone identity has to do with boundaries and whatnot during intimacy, and I'm wondering if I could just get you to just start us off with maybe what you'd like to say about it, stone identity, and then we can go about our list of topics.
Okay, sounds good. I identify as a stone femme. There's a lot of people that think that that means that that stone femmes are just femmes who date stone butches exclusively. I know you already know that.
I was one of those people, yeah.
But that's not the case. Recently, I heard that stone butch means solid in their butch identity. They're very masculine oriented. And if that were the case, then everybody feminine oriented would be a stone femme. And so that's not enough of a definition. It's a very small part. I think a stone femme is a woman who is determined that she identifies as a femme, but that's only part of the equation. I think that if you're a non-binary stone, you are squarely identified as non-binary. If you're stone butch, you're squarely identified as butch. Or if you're a stone stud, you're squarely identified as a stud. But the stone part is the part that's not just about being resolute in that feminine or masculine identity. It has to do with the intimacies. And I tend to be, I've been an educator a long time, so I can be very forward in descriptors. But my preference is to be elegant in that process and not be overly graphic. There's sometimes when it's necessary, so it's a fine line to dance when you're talking about stone identities. But a stone butch typically is a masculine presenting person who has physical intimacy boundaries. Typically, I'd say maybe 99%, maybe more of the ones that I've met, that set of boundaries looks like they don't want to be feminized in the way that they are treated intimately. Sometimes they don't want feminine pronouns used or female pronouns used with them. Sometimes they're very squarely, I'm a masculine presenting butch, but I am a female pronoun person. So she, her are the right pronouns for that person. Others prefer they might be masculine presenting, but they prefer they, them. So it's just the pronouns are not the same as the identity. Not every non-binary person wants they, them. Some want he, him, or she, her. So pronouns and identity are not the same thing. They can be, but it's a point to negotiate with the person to better understand what's comfortable for them, what suits them the best. And there are some stone femmes who prefer to use masculine pronouns with their partners, but they can't let that override their partner's preferences for themselves. So I typically say he, him for stone butches, only out of respect, because I come from an older generation, and in my generation, butches never got respect for being masculine. So I say he, him out of respect for the part that never got respect. But
literary form, it was before a lot of the virtual stuff come about and in-person stuff come about, and in literary form on the old forums, we were using HY for he. In person, of course, that just sounds just like a male assigned pronoun. When I type mine, I will say they, them, he, him, and I'll use HY, HYM. And I did the chapter on pronouns for challenging genders in co-authoring that, and found the references in 14th century literature.
Wow,
and
that's great.
It was used to describe a androgynous or masculine female presenting person. I knew it come from somewhere, but you're right. Old school, there was a lot of defaulting on the old email lists and whatnot to differentiate because you could have a completely a female name, and you have a list of them. There was no way of differentiating the Butch Femme folks, and defaulting to HY for he was a thing. And yeah, so I get
And
it.
some circles weren't exposed to HYM.
Right.
So they only knew HE, HIM.
Yeah.
So HE and HIM doesn't mean male. It just means that's that person's preference for pronouns, or
for lack of other, to use. Yes.
yeah. And I can go by they, them. We can get into non-binary, off-binary later, but I consider myself a stone femme, certainly a high femme, but I also consider myself non-binary. I'll explain what that is later when we get into that topic, but I don't mind somebody using they, them with me. Like, that certainly doesn't, like, I would probably even answer to he, him, as long as it was somebody who I knew still respected me.
Right.
Like, if it's a vendor on the phone and they don't know me and they know my name is Victoria, but they still say, yes, sir, yes, sir. I'm like, oh, please, God. Like, but that's, that's neither here nor there. As long as the person respects the other human being, I think there's a lot more flexibility in the world.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there are many different definitions of stone butch and many definitions of stone femme, and I want to kind of unpack some of that. So starting with stone femme has been used by femmes who say, I date stone butches exclusively, and therefore I'm a stone femme. It's misleading as a community language to say that, because there are stone femmes who have, the majority of stone femmes are not butch adjacent identities. They stand alone. So stone femme typically is a feminine lesbian, for lack of a better word, who prefers to partner with assigned female at birth, masculine of center partners. So they prefer to partner with butches, and they prefer that they are treated in a very feminizing way, and they prefer to treat their partners in a very masculinizing way. But stone femme can also mean that we have touch boundaries ourselves. Now, some stone femmes, never having heard of the stone community, their definition of stone femme is they are a touch me not stone femme. So they're a feminine person. They heard of stone butch. And so they said, I don't want to be touched either during intimacies. So I shouldn't partner with a stone butch, but I'm a stone femme. Don't touch me intimately, period. Like, I'm the toucher, I'm not the touchy. That's about 1% of the stone femme community. It is a legitimate part, but it's not a common part. So you have to ask what their definitions are of stone femme. And then there's some stone identified women that are actually straight women, and they go to work and they're pro-dominant, and with their clients, they are a touch me not feminine dominant. So they say, I'm a stone dominant, I'm a stone feminine dominant, but then they go home at night and they have sex in a normal heterosexual way. So they're heterosexual at home. So they're not stone femmes like we know in our community that stone femmes are. I'd say that that's probably 0.001%, but they do exist. Anybody can take on any label and make it mean anything. So there's a whole, as an example of that, there's a whole group of women in Hollywood that have started the Femme film series, and it's not for queer people at all. It's for feminine women who took the French word femme, F-E-M-M-E, and they made a film festival that's about empowering female-bodied people. So,
very European approach.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. They didn't do any historical referencing on what femme meant to communities, But, like you can take any word and make it mean anything. So in stone communities, it's really important for me to understand what you mean by stone and for you to understand what I mean by stone.
Yeah.
But just it's safe to say that most stone butches don't want to be feminized during sex. They don't want their
So
parts.
they'll rule out penetration, most of them,
Most,
and maybe there's particular ways they do and do not want their chest handled, if at all.
if at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty common that they don't, but that doesn't mean everybody doesn't. It's pretty
And that's
common
why
that
it's important to talk about those things before you jump on a plane to go meet up with
Absolutely.
somebody. What does sex look like between the two of y'all, to each of you? Yeah.
Yeah, I used to have a rule that, like I've been out as a stone femme a really long time. And I used to have a rule that I don't like overly graphic conversations, like especially between me and a prospective partner. So I used to say, are you a pitcher and I'm a catcher? Oh, great, we're going to fit. And then I found out, you get into intimacies and you find out you don't fit. Or a stone butch will say, I really rather give than receive. That might be their coded language for it.
Mm.
And then it turns out that that doesn't mean that they don't want to receive. They might want to receive a back rub. They might want to receive a certain kind of touch that makes them feel, that matches their headspace of feeling masculine, not
Yeah.
male, but masculine.
And it's a
And
stimulation of the skin, basically, at that point.
it can
Yeah.
also be stimulation of genitalia in a way that makes them relax. So that, they say that,
I could compare it to when things that make you feel amorous,
yes.
and yeah.
Yeah. And if your images in your head are, I'm masculine, a stone butch, if they're thinking I am masculine, I am masculine, I am masculine, and then you do something like cup their breasts, that makes them come out of the headspace and they're like, oh yeah, I have a female body. And it disconnects that thought process and they can't relax. There's other stone butches who don't want to be physically touched at all, except maybe nails on the back or on the upper arm, and nowhere else is it safe. There's still some that stone butches who prefer to tie their partner up consensually, of course, so that they don't get touched at all, because then it's a moot point. They don't have to worry about it. They don't have to wonder.
They
Maybe
won't be
they've
knocked out of that space,
Yeah, they don't have to worry about being knocked out of the space. And there's unfortunately still some lesbians who think it's a feather in their cap if they get a stone butch to allow the things that they don't allow, or a stone femme to do the things that the stone femme doesn't want to do.
Yeah, and those folks out there who see that as a something to rise to the challenge of, to break a stone, don't do it. Just don't, because that is behavior of a sexual predator.
It is.
And it's not okay, and it's not okay for anybody, whether you're butch and partner with butches or family. Not okay for any of y'all to speak about these things as though it's locker room talk and okay to say, and to, I don't know, you think you're adding a notch to your headboard kind of thing. It's ridiculous, and it's really inappropriate, and it's not. So anybody who's out there thinking that they want to break the stone, please don't do that.
They call it melting the stone, and it's
Right.
It's traumatizing for us. It means, like, if you have a boundary of, you go to a restaurant and the restaurant says, it's gluten-free because you get physical trauma by eating gluten, and everything, like you even ask the waitress or the waiter or the wait person, you say, is this really a gluten-free restaurant? It's really important to me. You don't do any cross-contamination, blah, blah, blah. And then they are in the back snickering of, wait, we're just going to give them a little bit. It won't hurt them. That's violating.
They'll never know.
Right. You wouldn't do that. Or I'm going to go to their bank account and I'm going to just take a little bit of their money, see if I can get past the rules and regulate. No, we don't violate boundaries like that. We don't violate boundaries with children. So why would we allow partners to violate boundaries with us intimately? No, it's not. It's very traumatizing, and it can take us years and years and years. And some people don't ever get over it.
And if I may, we've all been we've all heard of. The creepy dude who says you just haven't had me, you haven't had a man like me, and it's no different for a femme to approach a stone butch and go, well, you just haven't had the right femme.
Yep.
And
It's exactly the same.
Listen to how that sounds, y'all. It's just
Exactly the
it's
same.
parallel to the creepy. So yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. There was something I was thinking of to say, and I can't remember it now, but it'll come back.
I feel you. Well, there's some terms and language out there that some people feel like are derogatory or offensive, and some people embrace and use freely, as with all the language underneath the rainbow canopy nowadays. For instance, a few years ago, 3, 4 years ago, maybe 5, I had made a post on the main feed saying, does anybody else see a future where a queer might end up being an umbrella term? And the pushback was amazing. And look at where we are today, where queer has become an encompassing word to try and be more inclusive, kind of like masculine of center, MLC, was to try and encompass all language for assigned female at birth, or just butch identified, stud identified, whether you're a trans or AFAB, it doesn't matter. The masculine of center was created as a term to try and cover all of the identities that were there and that were to come. And queer was the same. Now, the terms for stone identity, there were pillow princesses, which some said, well, that just makes me sound lazy. Touch me nots. And tell me about how you've seen these terms evolve.
I think it's unique from person to person. I can't speak for the entire community and say, oh, we're all fine with all of them now. It's just like with the word queer, like not all lesbians or LGBTQ, all of us are not
the rainbow
okay
canopy, yeah.
the rainbow canopy is not entirely okay with queer. The same is true with the stone community. We're not all okay with queer. We're not all okay with lesbian, even if we were born female and never sleep with men.
Yeah, I've never embraced the term myself. So
yeah, lesbian doesn't work for me. I typically fall under the umbrella, but it's not a word that like if I want the most masculine part of my partner in the relationship with me, and I want them to be assigned female at birth, that's not typically a lesbian definition. So I don't fit the lesbian definition of lesbian.
And that's why I've always felt like the acronym with all the letters and whatnot and the plus at the end has been very erasing to a percentage of our unique community and our complicated collective of beautiful identities. And I think that's why I started doing Rainbow Canopy. I couldn't do the letters anymore because general public is always assigning the L to all the women and the G for the men, and I'm using the G. I'm gay, super gay. So
I'm gay. Yeah.
So yeah.
I agree. So touch me not would be the same. Not all butches are going to identify with the phrase touch me not. There are some that are very clearly do not touch me. Once we get intimate, more than sitting and holding hands or me putting my arm around you and you leaning into me, other than that, don't touch me. What I do with my body is my business. And I've done a lot of research on it. And as it turns out, there's a number of reasons. A lot of people like to quantify that. A lot of people outside of our community like to say, oh, that's because they've had trauma.
Right.
Well, mostly that's not true.
Right.
Mostly it's they're easily overstimulated, or they're reminded that they are in a female body and they don't mind being in a female body. They don't, they might not like it, but they don't necessarily want to transition to male, but they don't want to be reminded of it in the moment that they're bringing their most masculine part out to have sex.
Right.
So touch me not is just a phrase that means I get to choose, and mostly I choose no. So touch me not could be all the way don't touch me, and it could be partially don't touch me, only touch me here and here, or touch me this way and this way. Then there's pillow princess, which
Yeah.
the straight community likes to think of that as, oh, that's a lazy woman who doesn't reciprocate.
Right.
But there's a lot of activity that happens inside of a pillow princess with a stone butch, where she is opening herself and allowing herself. That's an active role. That's not a passive role. There
That's
are
right.
the passive, oh, do me, do me, do me pillow princesses, but those are such the minute minority that it's not common. Now, most of us won't take on the term pillow princess because we don't want to be categorized the way the straight community uses it. But
Right. Right.
that's not what it means. And then there's touch them not, where a stone femme that doesn't ever go under a strap during sex is a touch them not. Like, and that's an okay boundary too. You
Right.
can enjoy the smell, the organic smells of an AFAB person and still not want to put your face in the mix. Do
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right. Yes, I do. And it has a lot to do with getting pleasure off of knowing that you are giving pleasure,
Yeah.
and when however that looks to that person. And you know, I mean, isn't the end goal to be in touch with your body? And this was, I was going to say this earlier, I've seen conversations happen where you know, people want to throw stone butches and whatnot into a, you need therapy, you know, and you just had trauma and you just need to get over this and get in touch with your body. And here's how I see it. I see the opposite. I see they're in touch with their body enough to know and be able to express what their limitations are.
Absolutely.
That is a good.
Huge.
I know a
Hard
lot of people
one.
out there who still do not know how to express those
Right.
things. And the way I see it is, this is not something that needs therapy. This is something that they have worked their way through, and they're very solid in their identity. They know what they like, they know what they want, and they express that, and they talk about it, and they identify with it and as it. And that to me is I don't know. Is a lesson that most people should be able to look at, and if they're having problems applying it to themselves, maybe, you know, maybe they need to get
Yep.
their encouragement and their courage from folks who do.
Yeah. I think the people that have the hardest time with a stone butch's boundaries are a person who is not a great match partner wise for a stone butch. So for them, it would be selfish. It would appear as trauma. If they were like that, they would be recovering from trauma, because that's not how they are organically wired. And that same is true for stone femmes. They often think a stone femme is a wannabe straight girl. She doesn't want to go under the strap, or she doesn't want to feminize her partner because she's not in touch with herself, because she's not really wanting a female. She's settling for a female, but what she really wants is a man. Well, I call bullshit. Like, it's hard work to get to the identity stone femme. It's hard work to get to the identity stone butch. It's hard work to get to a non-binary stone identity or a stone stud identity. It's not tremendously celebrated in the world yet. So take it at face value that it's about having worked hard to get there, not just adopted it because you don't know any better.
Yeah. There we go. I knew it would do that. Okay. There was something else on this on this list of yours that where off-binary versus non-binary.
Yeah.
I might be jumping
okay.
ahead here, but
No, I don't care. We can go in any order.
hey,
Okay, so binary is male one side, female the other, straight woman over here, gay woman over here. Those are the kind of binaries. Like, they're opposites, right? So butch would be on a binary with femme, typically. Masculine of center would be a little bit left of center. Feminine of center would be a little bit right of center. Those are binaries. I love binaries. I think they're delicious and wonderful. I love the contrast. I'm part of the butch femme community and happy to be so. I'm a stone femme. I date stone butches. Like, that's the truth. But off binary are the people that don't fit any kind of binary. They might be masculine of center, but they're not comfortable over here. And I actually know one stone butch who says stone butch because that's the most closely accurate phrase, but they're really like a triangle. Butch is here, femme's here, and they're queer up here. Like they're like, they lean more on the butch side, so that's what they go with. And there might be feminine versions who go over here, but they're more queer identified than stone butch or stone femme identified. They may take one or the other because that's comfortable.
The spectrum is more fluid for them.
Right. Or it may not be fluid. They may be very squarely where they're at and they don't budge, but they're not on a butch femme binary. So they're off binary. So it might be a triangle, queer, butch, femme, and they lean a little bit to one side, but it's still, no matter what it leans, it's still a triangle. It's still
a little bit parallel to androgyny.
Right. Yes, very much so. And then there is non-binary, who don't categorize me. I am a mother, but I'm masculine of center, but I'm also love being my partner's wife. Like, and I like female like they just don't want to be quantified because no quantification fits them other than stone. And those I would say are off binary. Like they're just, they might identify as non-binary because that's the accepted umbrella for other binary. Like if you don't want to be at one end of the spectrum or another of any spectrum, I tend to think of binaries as being triangles, sometimes circles, other straight lines, and then there's multiple straight lines. There's multiple triangles. There's multiple spheres. So it's not singular dimensions.
I've compared our community itself to an octagon. And like for me, my agender, non-binary, has to do with I don't feel as though I'm a mix of either male or female, but for me, what it is I feel as if I'm a human being. I approach the world as such. I don't subscribe to any of the social constructs, is what it is, and I never have since I was a child. And turns out there was a name for that. Didn't know that when I was a child, but I'm not a believer that there's such a thing as a man's job. I don't believe in act like a man, sit like a lady. I've never subscribed to any of those constructs. For me, that is how I embrace non-binary. And there are heterosexual women out there who are non-binary and they're cisgender. And I spoke with somebody who identifies as non-binary. She says because she wants to be able to navigate the world as a human being and not be treated differently because she's assigned female at birth, which on this planet it's folks who are AFAB are a secondary condition to the male of our species, and that's a horrible way to have to navigate life. So I spoke with this woman, and she said, "This is how I see it. I'm non-binary because this is how I would like to approach the world. This is how I'd like them to approach me, and it has nothing to do with anything under the rainbow canopy." And I loved that she expressed it that way. Yeah.
I think there's room for all of us. And I think my version of non-binary as a stone femme is different than your version of non-binary as an agendered person. I think my version is I'm in this other binary. Like I like the tension that's created between the hyper masculine and the hyper feminine. I like the tension. It's not enough. It's because in my early years, before I learned about stone identities, I think the first time I learned about stone identities is when Leslie Feinberg's book came out, Stone Butch Blues. And I think that was 93. And I got a copy that year and saw Leslie speak that year or the next. But I knew instantly that those were my people. And I had to investigate that further to know what that meant. But for me, that tension between the hyper masculine and the hyper feminine is super delicious, but I'm not the straight woman and the straight man kind of queer version of Butch and Femme. Like I am Butch, and there is Butch and there is Femme, but yeah,
which I
it's just
see
different.
as that was a main ingredient to actually creating the Butch Femme community as a subculture. The mainstream L word community would take a look at this dynamic and say it was heteronormative.
Mm.
And no, it's not at all the same thing.
Yeah.
So, but that's when a lot of the shunning and exclusionary things happened, and that's what had us branching off, and that is how we got so gloriously expansive today. So I actually have to be thankful for the fact that we've branched off. We needed the room for
Yeah.
for expression, terms and language. All of it needed to be able to encompass the rest of us that we're not just women who love women kind of thing. And yeah, I know that even today there's a tendency for folks in the Southern California area, which is just a whole nother state from us Northern Californians. They were trying to streamline identities. Yeah. Well, first of all, who put y'all in charge?
Yeah.
And second of all, is it that exhausting? And if so, maybe your life needs to slow down a little. You
I'll say.
So, and I think I said to you earlier that I love the complication behind all of the collective that we have now gathering within this culture, because it is true to how intricate we are as humans.
Yeah.
And anybody who sees us as anything less than intricate and complicated is not giving themselves credit for being of this species. That is us. We are just like that. And I mean, although we've screwed a lot of things up as a people, we still have a chance every single day to widen our lens.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's the first time somebody widens their lens to be more accepting and inclusive, they will find that navigating every day from there seems to be a little easier on every realm. So getting our own community to understand more about this entire section of stone within our community, to me is a way to bring us all back together at one big table of love and understanding. But I'm a hippie like that, so
Yeah.
But I also wanted to touch on the fact that I find that I did an OFOS panel about 6 months ago or so, and that a lot of folks share both identities, Stone and OS. I found that there seemed to be a commonality with folks who stepped up as OFOS were also Stone.
OFOS. Yeah.
OFOS. Thank you. Yes, the OFOS. So what do you think about that?
There is a big overlap. It's not 100%. I know plenty of stone butches who are just really not that into opening doors. They will if it's a special occasion, but they don't want it to be a rule that's foisted upon them. And there are plenty of stone femmes who like feeling competent. So like I remember one time, it's in one of my books, I think my first book, I told a story about how it was two couples. I'm half of one, and the other couple was Butch Femme as well. And the other Femme and I, we were both in sundresses and heels, and we were sitting outside sipping lemonade, and there was a tree stump that had sprouted really ugly. So the tree stump is that big around, and the branches coming out of it were this big around. Like it was just, they were really unsightly, and it kind of took over the whole backyard. And I said, I really wish all those branches were gone, that was back to being a stump. And one of the butchers said, I'll give you a hacksaw and you can do it. And I'm like, okay. And so the other Femme and I, we got out there in our sundresses with a hacksaw and started going to town, and the butchers were cheering us. It's a sense of We wanted to enjoy ourselves as competent, capable tool welders doing something that's completely outside of our comfort zone. I can change a tire on a dark road if it means I'm going to be more safe than waiting
Doesn't
3 hours.
mean you're damsels that are helpless and in distress
Exactly.
constantly. And chivalry
Exactly.
shouldn't only step in then,
Does
if
it
I
mean I
may.
want to help you lift the sofa? No, not
Right,
particularly. But if push comes to shove, I'm lifting that car off my baby. Like, I don't care. Like,
right,
I'm
right.
confident. I can use tools. I can do things. But there are some femmes who don't want to be pigeonholed as high maintenance. And I don't consider myself high maintenance. I do like my bags carried. I do like to be driven in the car, but I'm a great driver. I drive a stick. Like, I drive a motorcycle, but I don't want to be pigeonholed that I can't, but that's my competency gene. But that doesn't mean I really want to. Like,
And
I love
OFOS is
doing dishes.
consensual. It's a consensual dynamic. And folks need
Absolutely.
to understand that too. So,
Absolutely.
I know that the feminist waves have taken target to OFOS many times. And there needs to just be a little bit more understanding that is a consensual dynamic between a couple. And it is not like the heterosexual couples of the 50s where, you were to sit there and with your mouth closed and speak when you're spoken to, and aprons on, and bring me my slippers and my pipe and my paper. All those kinds of things were expected and pushed upon folks who may not have wanted to identify as OFOS.
Yeah, and there's plenty of times that we might like old-fashioned kind of dynamics, but that doesn't mean that it's not consensual and it's not context specific. Like, I might be okay with more in my private time than I am in a group of 40 lesbians. Like, if I'm the little woman in a group of 40 lesbians, oh hell no. Like, you're not going to make me feel diminished among peers. But at the same time, I want to give to my partner. I want to take care of them. I want to nurture them in the ways that feel good to me. I want to be nurtured back in the ways that they enjoy giving to me. So it really comes down to consent and navigating those nuances with potential partners. And that's the same with intimacy. Like,
and potential partners right there. How would you have, I'm sure, come across several ways how would you recommend folks open up the conversation to folks that when they're courting and talking with people? How would they best approach stone identity?
that's a tricky thing because the community is very small that uses the language. There are lots more people that are stone that don't use the language yet. And then they go, wait, I didn't know that that's what stone was. I'm stone.
Right.
So you kind of, when you're looking at a potential partner, like let's say a dating app, where you have to create a profile about yourself, you want to reveal who you are, you really need to say, these are the labels I choose, and this is what they mean to me. That's a lot of information to put out on the internet that you don't know who's reading it.
Right.
You don't necessarily want to give your sexual boundaries to strangers.
Yeah.
You want to have conversations. So you have to allude to that or look for nuances in the posts that others write. So I think in past times, I haven't had a personal profile in at least a few years, maybe 2.5 years. But the last time I had one, it was pretty nuanced. It was something along the lines of, I'm immovable from being feminine, but I like to feel competent still, and I don't like to feel like I'm high maintenance. But I also want a partner who loves the more traditionally masculine duties and behaviors. That doesn't mean that they can't be female with me as well. Like
That's right, because it doesn't mean man. Masculinity does not mean man. Masculinity is a human trait, not a male trait. Yes.
You're right. And then I might say my preference is for partners who never show up with the lingerie. because I've had that surprised on me. And so that's a way of saying non-masculinized sex is, I'll wear the lingerie. Please don't wear the lingerie. Like, that's important to me, but that might not be important to the next person. That somebody might like that queer twist or that flamboyant edge that occasionally they get surprised. I don't know any of those femmes, but it's possible.
Right.
You have to be able to give them hints that open the conversation and then make sure that you have the conversations. So I don't think that there's any one size fits all. You can say I'm stone femme and this is what it means to me. But if they go out and research it on the internet, they might find that stone femme means the femme is a touch me not. And that could not be further from the truth for you. So until all of that's cleaned up on the internet, it's going to be confusing.
I'm glad you are working on that. Yes.
I've written books to help.
We're looking to you.
Actually, we did come up with some really great definitions, and they were community approved by a couple of different stone groups. And then they got uploaded to Wikipedia, and they sat there all nice and pretty for a minute. But Wikipedia can be changed by anybody. Somebody came along and deleted the Stone Femme listing in Wikipedia. There is no longer, if you search Stone Femme as one word in Wikipedia now, it links you to the Stone Butch profile or the Stone Butch listing. There is no more Stone Femme listing on its own. And then the Stone Butch one has been watered down. That
just says so much.
So, it does.
You know.
And so if you're going to go to Urban Dictionary and get your answers there, well, that's probably not someone I would want to date, because if that's their place of authority, rather than asking me questions, it's not a good partner for me.
Right. And because there's nothing wrong with asking questions, No, I was talking with Elanda Slake a couple of years ago, and we were talking about how people don't ask each other a lot of questions anymore, because there tends to be this defensive mode people jump into that you feel like, why do you want to know that? Because it's almost like, why are you going to use this against me in the future? Instead of sharing yourself. And when somebody asks you questions, sometimes they genuinely want to know. But there tends to be hesitation to ask because of reactions that have come out that hesitates to answer. And if we could just get folks back to a place where we can ask each other things,
Yeah, but on the same token, I don't want to be asked, how do I like to have sex, if you don't know me and there's no foundation for that conversation.
Yeah.
So online, people go, can you tell me more about that, what that means? And there's ways that I'm still going to be careful and elegant about how I describe it when it relates to me personally. But I'm also like, that level of detail is an earned place. I have to know I like you. Like, it's a really long process for somebody to get to be my inner circle. And to be partnered with me is a long process. Now, part of that's my OFOS. I want to see them through a couple of seasons. I want to know if they're angry in the summer or they're angry in the winter, or like if I've never seen them in conflict, I don't know how they're going to be. Like, I'm not going to give them my full heart until I've seen them through some of those things.
Because it falls into the category of intimacy. Because words are the same, expressing yourself, sharing yourself, and all the depths and layers of yourself, non-physically is also intimacy, and there has to be a level of trust.
Yeah, and that trust building is slow. Like, I might seem like I'm really forward and heart open and affectionate and flattering and appreciative and affirming, and at the same time, that doesn't mean all my heart's invested yet. Like, I might even be falling for someone, and yet my heart's not fully invested. I've got to see how you are with your family, how you are with strangers, how you are with somebody you don't like. Like, I need to see a lot more sides of you before I'm ready to make a commitment.
Rain and I had done a Butch onesie session, and we were talking about dating. in our community. And
Okay.
one of the things I said was, you need to bring forward, I want to talk to their best friend. I want to talk to their roommate or their mom or their family. I want to talk to those people with them sitting there, and ask them questions, and ask, how would you describe them? Things like, because those I want to see their relationship with their best friend.
Mhm.
I want to see that dynamic. I want to see, I just want to see those things. And the best way to tap into some of those mystery places, is to get those who are closest to them to come forward on the screen to get to know them as well.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not trying to integrate yet, but you're trying to pull some preliminary information and characteristic. And if they're willing to do so, are you willing to bring your mom in the background over here to the screen for a minute? Let me say hi, just as a friend, things like this. But yes, I'm a big believer in that.
I think it's important to note too that we have to be mature. Need a drink of water. Give me 1 second.
I found eggnog, so I'm on the eggnog thing.
I love eggnog. We have to be mature enough to, as humans, to not be overly invested. So let's just say I meet somebody who I'm romantically, there's a spark, like there's a potential energy there. They want to know more about how I define as a stone femme. I want to know more about how they identify as a butch. Like, I want to know some basics. And maybe we have those conversations sooner than later. Maybe we don't have them because I want to see how we get along as two people doing fun activities, and just, can we even be friends? Sure, there's a spark and there's an interest and there's a tension, but I don't want to explore that with great depth, because I want to know for sure that this investment of time is worth those bigger discussions.
It's a compatibility checklist.
It's yeah, although I don't use a checklist anymore. Like, it's like, I want to see ethics in action. I kind of just want to experience them, and I want them to experience me. And so maybe we have those early conversations about what stone is, and we get that we're compatible, but maybe it takes longer because I just want to know, do I like the person? But if we're mature, then we sit up and we say, wow, your definition, when we get to those moments where we discover that we're going to date, we're not going to date, we're going to become involved, we're not going to become involved, we're going to be intimate, we're not going to be intimate. When we get to those thresholds, the mature part of me says, wow, I'm a little disappointed that it didn't work for us, or that your version doesn't really match my version and I don't see a workaround. But I've loved getting to know you. And it's not,
why not be friends,
Yeah, it's not devastating to me that we didn't work out. It's not devastating to you that we didn't work out. That's where you know that you're dealing with a healthy human, where they've done enough of their work. If they're devastated because we didn't work out after a few months, that says more about the unhealed parts than it does the healed parts.
Yeah. And it just, for lack of better words right now, it seems high school to be so very drained and devastated over a missed connection these days. Yeah.
But we also have to remember, it's easy for us to quantify it as an age development thing. And it might be that I'm very mature with 16 people in my life, but this one came along that sparked new hopes. And I had more disappointment over this one than I would have these other 16 that I had chemistry with.
And the dating pool is very small. So
and the dating pool is very small. And so it's like,
you're excited.
Yeah. Right. And it had more excitement. So that doesn't mean that across the board I'm junior high. It just means I got tripped in a way I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
So that could be the case too. You have to give grace, and you have to give yourself grace.
And accept disappointments as all a part of the process, because when you go shopping for an outfit, you bring 15 things into that dressing room. you try them all on, you might walk out with one or none. And I
Yeah.
feel like dating is the same. Not everything is going to fit just because it looks good on the hanger, you know?
That's true. That's true. But you've been off the market. You and the missus have been off the market for a really long
Yes,
time.
yes. To 19 years,
Things have
20 next year.
changed a little bit since then. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Things are
know.
a little bit.
I talked to her about that. I says, you know, when her health really tailspun on me, I said, you can't leave. You can't just leave me out here in this world so cold. If we're dating and whatnot right now, I'm gonna have to get 5 or 6 wives just to replace you.
I
Just
I think there'd be a lot of us out here that would be devastated if y'all weren't our anchors in a large way. Like you really, the two of y'all are such really just anchors for the Butch Femme community that I think that we rely on that and we get invested in y'all's happiness.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I get invested in our happiness too. I feel like right
As
now
you should.
the biggest way I can help her medical team is to keep her laughing and keep her smiling.
Oh,
You know, I feel like because you know, I feel like the spirit, you know, and whatnot, yeah, it needs to be tended to, not just the physical, because you know, the whole thing is just really threw her for a loop this year, and you know, she's dealing with you know, struggles and exhaustion and depression, and you know, and so. I'm just trying to stand off to the side, watch, and see where I might be able to jump in. You know, bring her beautiful rocks. You know,
oh,
I showed her some last night. And she says, "Oh, these are keepers." In other words, I can't sell them. So she's just as big a fan as them. She might bitch about them sometimes, but she's
you're a
just as
smart
big a
partner.
fan. But you know, that's our love. That's our romance. You know, I mean,
Yeah, that's
I told her when we first met, you know, I'm gonna bring little rocks from here and there, and when I do, is I'm bringing you the world one piece at a time from wherever I've been.
oh,
And so yeah,
I love love.
my job now is to hit Lake County, then the county one county over, and to rock hunt for Lake County Diamond. Which is only one place in the world they can be found, and that's there. And I have a friend actually cut it at a stone and set it because
Mhm.
she wants to renew our vows for our 20th anniversary.
Aw. And
So
where's
you
that?
know, which means I'm gonna have to get her a ring now. So I'm a rock hunt for that ring. Yes, I am. But yeah, no, I wanted to talk about. Okay, and I think we're headed towards the end of our list, but Stone Butch, Stone Femme Bill of Rights.
I think I have three versions. I have a Stone Butch Bill of Rights, a Stone Femme Bill of Rights, and a non-binary Bill of Rights, a non-binary Stone Bill of Rights. And really, it's just like there was no one that sat us down as youngsters, or even when we were first coming out as Stones, that said, you have the right. You know, when you go to a medical office, let's say it's a trans person, you have the right to be treated with dignity. You have the right to be asked your pronouns. You have the right to say no to any procedure that doctor is going to do. You have the right to know how this impacts whatever. I think a lot of really great doctors now have that patient bill of rights up on the wall in most of their doctor's offices now. And so I came up with a short checklist for Stone Femme Bill of Rights. And so like we have the right to joyously embrace our partner's boundaries, not resist them.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
just we have the right to joyously embrace them. No one told us we have the right for them to say no to us. We have the right. They have the right to say no, but we have the right to feel joyous that they have a boundary with us. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
we're told, no, if you love your partner and you want them to be happy and you want them to be sexually fulfilled, you have to do what they need done. No, I don't. I have as a Stone Femme, I have the right to set my boundaries of what I will or won't do and have those respected the very first time I state them.
Yeah.
So if somebody says, that's my milk, please do not drink my milk. I want to save that milk. It's important to me. You don't go, come on, I want the milk, you know, or in
Go
Stone
stick your straw in it and laugh. Yeah.
Right. Right. Or I'll just have some of it. It's mostly your milk. No, I said it was my milk, whatever the case may be.
It's half
So-
mine. We're married.
Right. I used to manage a stone group, as you know, and there was a couple of questions you had to answer to get in the group. And if they didn't answer the questions, they didn't get in the group. That's pretty common among groups. But if they said, why do I have to answer these questions? I knew they weren't an appropriate person for that group because we're a boundary people. And so if you can't respect basic small boundaries, you're not going to respect
And
really big
appreciate
ones.
the fact that you're screening like that. I would want to belong to a group that screens like that. And by the way, they now have admin assistants where I can set it to where it automatically decline you with feedback and a message that says you did not answer all 3 questions. Please come back to answer all 3, and then we'll forward your request.
I had a woman. This was when the Stone for Stone group was really new, and there were no other stone groups at the time. And there was a woman who found us. She said she was Stone Femme. Oh, that makes me excited. And she inboxed me in Messenger and said, I have a bunch of stone butches that I'm no longer dating. I only date stone butches, heterosexual men, or trans men if they're completely flat or if they bind completely flat and they pack 24/7. And I was like, those are some real, so that's more of a bisexual bent than a stone femme.
Bi and pan, and also now your dating pool is now a drop of it.
Right. And so while my version of partnering in the world is different than hers is legitimate. But then the next thing she said was, I'm done with all the ones I have. You want me to throw them to you and you can throw me? And I was like, oh, we don't talk about stone butches that way in my world. Like they're not, we don't we objectify them with consent. Like, oh my God, look at those arms, or wow, they look great in a flannel shirt. Like those are the kind of objectifications they might welcome. They don't typically like some, like, here's how big my package looks in my boxer briefs. I'm not one of those girls. I'm more OFOS than that. I could never look.
You appreciate their swagger over their.
I can appreciate their swagger. I can appreciate their forearms. I can appreciate.
That we had a thread on Butch hands, right? For going for a long time.
I can do that, but I can't even do Butch butts. It's not something I'm comfortable with. And I certainly don't want to see.
It's okay.
They
all deflate with age anyway. So I'm just saying, I didn't realize this until I just looked over, but because it's not showing up on here. Hello to Joey and Dharma and Kane, and Al, who has made it from all the way across the world. Devin and Shelly. I feel like Miss Marianne on Romper Room, and Reg. And Elle and Jack, and hello everybody. I hadn't realized we actually had because it doesn't show it up on my portal, so I just opened my page on the laptop, and so we had folks commenting and whatnot. So
well, we should think about giving away some books.
We should think about that, huh? We should. How did you want to do that?
I can text you a number between 1 and 100.
All
and
right.
The first person who responds that's the closest, you tell me who it is because you have the number and you know who it is. They're responding and you can see the responses. And then if they can send you which book they want, whether they want it autographed, and where they should send it, and then you send me that information. That would be great.
All right.
Okay, so let me tell them what the options are. There's 4 options. You get we're going to pull 3 different numbers. And
that's perfect.
And any of those 3 people get their pick of books. So I'll send them 1 book and they get their pick. So the first one is A Stone's Throw. It's a collection of essays. There's a couple of really hot, sexy stories. There's some historical pieces about me. It's not that thick, but it's the first one I wrote, and it was because there was nothing on the shelf except Stone Butch Blues, and we needed something. So that was
the 90s was a great time for literature for our community, and it's just like fizzled out. So yeah.
The next one is the stone shelter, and you can see the love letters. This is an actual collection of love letters between me and a stone butch.
Oh.
There are some text messages that we shared. It's like the whole story of our love affair.
Love that.
And then this is Pillow Princesses and Touch Me Nots. Stone Femmes and Stone Butches are taking those terms back. And it's the definition of those two terms in a really powerful and positive way. And I've had the most positive feedback on this one.
Okay.
And then the last one is, this is I Believe in Me, and it's a story, it's a picture book story. So everything, like one of my favorite ones.
You were going to do a coloring book too, weren't you?
It's still happening, but I had an app that had problems, and the woman who volunteered to do the images for me, no longer available to do those. So I have to either find somebody else or find a different app that'll do it.
Talk to our moderator, Sandra. She does graphic arts, and she does coloring books for adults.
Brilliant. My favorite one. So I'll just read a couple of short lines from the children's book.
Okay.
When I was wee, just 2 or 3, I could not see that I was free. When in a tree, you see how it's just the eyeballs in the tree? When in a tree or in the sea, when drinking tea or on a ski, I have the key to be a he, or maybe she, or even Z. And the rest of it goes on like that. So it's a child exploring pronouns and gender expression with really high self-esteem.
That's awesome.
So let me put a number in the chat for you. You won't be able to see me for a second, I think. It's a number between 1 and 100. And whoever gets the closest.
Oh, do you want them to guess now?
Yeah, if they could guess
okay.
now.
Because, okay. What if they're not there? What if they disappeared on me?
Well, then we don't give any away. That's okay.
Look, I'm already going second and third options. You're like, well, forget it then. See, there it is. There's my kindness. Okay, I've got you. All right, I've got your number.
I'm just saying I won't take it personal, like if
Wild Lake, I see you. Okay, and Wendy Westberg. Okay, we have 3 people guessing. Come on, y'all. Let's have you guess the number. Punch in a number. Punch it in. Punch it in. Comes another one from Robin. I remember the first time I seen her name. My wife goes, "Who's Robin?" I said, "Look at it. It's Robin." Put the words together.
That was really creative.
We have Jesse. Yeah. We have Jessica as well. I mean, people. Yeah, it's just amazing. Let's see. All right. So we got 1, 2. There's 4. Okay, you guys. Who else? Punch in those numbers. I know y'all want to guess. I'd be all over it, because I love free stuff. Cheap bastard. Up. There's Crystal. All right. Okay. All right.
Is any one of them closer?
Yes. All right, we're gonna give it like 15 seconds. Y'all got 15 seconds to punch in a number on this first one. I'm on a hippie time zone. Let me know when 15 seconds is up. Okay. It could be 3 days for me. So, it's like I'll be right there. It could be a 4 to 6 hour window. So I'm so glad that my friends find that endearing. All right. That's it. 15 seconds is up, and our closest guest would be Crystal Duchesne, whom I happen to have known Crystal for decades too. So
great.
Congratulations, Crystal.
If Crystal will just tell you which one that they want and where to send it to, and whether
right.
it should be autographed or not. And
All
if they
right.
want some kind of special autograph, I'm happy to write whatever they want to write.
All right. All right. Congratulations, Crystal. You got that one. Do you want to? We're going to use these other people's numbers that are already there for the next two as well, and let them let those roll over to the next ones.
We can.
Okay. All right. All right. Cool. All right. So let me see. Look at it. Woo woo. All right. So well, let's do another number. Give me
Okay.
shoot me another number. And before we finish here, I know you said you sent me an email of the stone logo or flag,
Mhm.
but I don't have a share screen from my portal, so I'll have you show that before we yeah, okay, ding, there's the ding. All right, okay, got the new number. Fun stuff.
We
Thanks
can
for
go
this,
ahead and
because
give away the other
thanks for
two.
this, because this is the first time. Hello from Australia. Hi, Chris. Hey, Chris, throw a number at the screen. We're guessing numbers. You got to guess the number between 1 and 100 to win a publication. Victoria's, not mine. Mine was a nightmare with that publisher. I'm gonna tell you something. It's a whole nother thread. Da-da, da-da-da-da. Look at Wendy Weisenberg. Joey, yeah, I missed the group. Well, you're in there, aren't you, Joey? I know a lot of people, they get they get all their group stuff from their own personal feeds, and Facebook decides what content from our group goes on people's feeds every day.
Wow.
And you would think that as admin, if I post something into the featured and pin it, that would be one of the ones they would automatically choose. Nope, we have no say in that, and I'm trying to get them to change that. It would really help. A lot of people don't go directly to the group feed. They're missing out on a lot of shit, on a lot of stuff, because I have no idea what they're going to throw on people's personal feeds from the group. So I know we're at the top of the feeds because we have no admin violations.
Nice.
We've done very, very well. Yeah. All right. Oh, Victoria. Okay, Joey. All right. Victoria's old stone group. I mean, okay. Joey misses your old group.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Joey, did you throw a number in there? Joey, throw a number out there. Between 1 and 100. Da-da-da-da. And just in case, I always got to make sure, just in case my mommy's watching. Hi, mommy. My mommy's 83 years old.
Oh.
I'm the favorite. I'm the youngest. All right. Okay. All right. So let's see what we got here. All right. We've got one that's closest. And it's just last minute slide in by Joey. Joey gets that one.
Okay. And do you want to go ahead and pull the third one now?
Let's do it.
Okay. Let me give another number. There you go.
All right. Anybody else who hasn't thrown a number up there in the comments, do it now. Get about 15 seconds here. And then we're gonna and we're using all y'all's numbers unless you want to change. If you want to change the number that you put in, change it now. I messaged Norma Lily from South Africa and let her know. I said, I know you'll be sleeping during this, but I just want to let you know we'll miss you. I'm always teasing her because of our time zone difference, you know.
Yeah, the big.
Yeah. Oh, here, look at that. People changing their numbers. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. My eyes. Well, I tell you what, I could see really well a couple years ago. There we go. Okay, I can see yours. Okay. All right. Dun, dun, dun. And all right. Whoop, whoop. There went another one. Thank you for staying up so late for us. And now because like I said before, I want to get you in on the intergenerational panel, so I'm gonna have to schedule that one because you're from the young folks at a time when you can participate from across the world. Hey, Dino, we're guessing numbers right now between 1 and 100. If you want to win something, throw in a number. Throw it in. Throw it in. Look at somebody trying to message me on the side. Stop it. Stop it. All right. I'm closing the guesses up. Wendy Weisberg.
Excellent. So just be sure to tell me which book you want, whether you want it autographed and what you want the autograph to say, and where it should be shipped. I've got to order it from Amazon, get it shipped to me, do that, package it, resend it.
All right.
So if you don't want it autographed, I can probably have it sent straight from Amazon, but I'll figure
like a
that.
drop shipment kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will grab all three of those folks in messages and wrap that all up.
Can we circle back to one thing that we talked about earlier?
As I was just going to say, is there anything that you would like? Yes.
Yeah, there was. I'm with you that the heteronormative phraseology is really problematic. It's just we are not normal, like butches and femmes, even non-stones are not mimicking heterosexuality. That's not who we are. I don't even think that most of us do it because we're completely socialized that way. I don't think socialization can make me attracted to somebody my body is not chemically attracted to.
It's inherent.
I think it's inherent. I'm attracted to masculinity. I often say that I'm 95-5. I'm 95 attracted to butches. I'm 5 attracted to some femmes. But the problem is if the femme sat on my lap and I was like really gaga over her, but a group of butches walked by, she'd fall off my lap and I wouldn't even notice.
Right.
So it's not fair to date femmes. But
Right.
that in the butch femme, I'd say I'm teeny tiny bisexual, teeny tiny. But it's just, I haven't dated a femme in a really, really long time. And I didn't realize, the last femme I dated, she kept hitting on me on a dating profile. This was years and years and years ago. And I kept saying, no, I date only butches. And she's like, but don't you, like, you're just so beautiful and blah, blah, blah. And one day I got really mad at a couple of butches and I was like, fine, I'm going to just date a femme. And so I thought I'd date her. We went out to dinner and she was high femme as well. And she looked at the door like she wanted me to open it. I was like, oh, okay, I can open the door. I've got decent manners. I open the door for my mother. I can open the door for my son. Like I don't mind opening the door.
Right.
We get to dinner and then she goes, you want to order for me? And I'm like, okay, like, I can do that too. But then she kept playing me as if I was the butch. And I can do it for a minute, but I can't do it permanently. And then I paid for dinner and then she wanted me to tuck her into her side of the car because we were going to go for a drive together rather than leave in 2 separate vehicles. And I let her into her side of the car, but I started to scan the parking lot for danger. And I was like, no, that's not the role I want. I don't know. That's
Right.
not me. So then I had to try to negotiate that with her, and it just didn't work. So
Well, I hope you at least kept a friend out of it.
She,
Acquaintance. You know.
yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't, it wasn't a bad parting, but it was, we were
Not a
not, we
match.
were not, we were not a match. We were not a match. But there is something to be said for the way stone sexuality is drawn. There's the idea that homoerotica and heteroerotica. Heteroerotica is I'm attracted to my opposite. Homoerotica is I'm attracted to the same. So there are some beliefs. I'm not subscribing to it. I'm not championing it. I'm not endorsing it. But there are some people that believe that if you transition female to male and you take testosterone, that you were homoerotic over here. You were butch attracted to femme, but then you took testosterone and transitioned to male, and you're still homoerotic. So now you're gay male instead of butch
Which does
femme.
that actually that does happen.
That
But
does
yeah.
happen because they might have been clearly homoerotic oriented. They are attracted or heteroerotic. I don't know. Anyway, they go from being heteroerotic, where they're attracted to the opposite, to being homoerotic, attracted to the same. I don't know whether that's true or not. I'm not a trans person. I couldn't speak to it.
Right.
But I do think that a lot of stones are heteroerotic. I tell people, like, I one time came out as a stone femme to someone, a straight woman. We got along really great, spent a couple of weeks together hanging out. And I said, how was it for you when I first came out? She goes, oh, I just think you're confused. And I was like, what? She goes, yeah, if you're attracted to masculine and you use he and him when you refer to them, then we both know that you're really attracted to men and you just might not be comfortable with it. Maybe you were raped or something. I was like, that's what you got out of that? Like, no, honey, I'm so sorry that that's where you went with that, but I'm not confused. I had to work really hard to get here. Back to what we spoke
I'm glad
about.
you asked her that question because it gave you a chance to clarify what you didn't know she was thinking.
Yeah, but she still walked away thinking I was confused. So, and that's her view of the
Like
world.
I'm not trans. That's space that doesn't belong to me. I'm not going to take up space there. It demeans actual lived experiences of trans folks, and I'm on low dose tea, so I could grow a beard I can trip over because I'm a fucking hippie. You know, that's just me. And for aesthetics wise, but I get put into the trans box a lot by folks who don't know that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know.
bearded butch must be trans. No,
Right,
that's not the case at all.
No, I'm this is my vessel, you know,
Yeah.
and it's what did I say during? I did participated in the oral history project from Professor Amy Tooth Murphy, and I had said during that, I said, well, the only body dysphoria I have is that I'm shaped like a fucking potato. So, we had to stop the recording for a minute so people would laugh our asses off, but yeah. But yes, there's a lot of assumptions that happen before words are spoken, you know.
Yeah.
Again, that's people not giving us credit for how intricate we really are.
I think there is something to be said for giving people grace to be 100% different than anything you've ever known or seen before, and then for us to agree to celebrate that.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a lot of permission in the stone community for polyamorous people. I'm not saying they're against it. They're just saying it's over there. And you can't be ophos and poly. Really? Like,
Why
a
not?
femme doesn't want her door open by more than one partner, or a butch doesn't want to cater to more than one femme. Like, you don't know, or like, we don't
What's
know
that?
what.
You don't know me. Right.
You don't know me.
You don't know me.
You
That's
don't
right.
know me.
That's right.
Do you want to open it up for questions from the attendees?
Let's see what do we got here. Dun, da, da, da. let me see. Anybody who's still watching, does anybody have any questions that you would like to throw out there? And if not, we're going to show up. We're going to show that logo on the flag, and we'll close out session 1. By the way, in session 2 will be a week from today, and that's going to be a more advanced session on folks who are
People who already know that they're stone and want to take it deeper.
Yeah. Look at Joey right away. How have you been, Victoria?
Oh, she's such a love for asking. I had long COVID, really, really, really bad for about a year and a half. Fortunately, I'm almost completely healed from that, but it took the wind out of my sails.
Yeah, I
It
kept
was,
checking in every few months with you,
yeah,
because you disappeared off social media for your own,
yeah.
wondrous reasons, and I'm like, man, you still there? How you doing? Yeah.
Well, until this week, I haven't been back on social media at all.
You know what? I'm honored. I almost feel like it's my fault you came back, but you know what? I'm honored to host you here today. So, mhm.
Well,
because there was a thread that Reg put in with a link to the Stone support group, and there was conversations happening below that, like you weren't in the room because you weren't, and there
yeah,
was a lot of people were all about some Victoria Mayor, and so there was a and after reading some of them, I came back and I said she's all right, she's okay. In fact, she's wonderful right now, because people were worried,
yeah,
that you had succumbed, and
yeah,
so we let them know that you're still here.
yeah.
So yeah.
I'm writing slower than I used to because I have a bunch of clients I do executive coaching for and have for years and years. But one of my, I think 8 years that I've been his executive coach, he wanted to start a business right before COVID. And I kept saying, don't go all in until like COVID started. And I said, don't go all in until you know how the supply chains turn out. You have a wife and 2 small kids. Do not go all in until you have enough money to eclipse the $300,000 or $100,000 a year he was making in his regular job. And he said that was great advice. And so he slowly built it up. And then last year he hired me to come over and be his chief marketing strategy and AI officer. And that's
Right
been a
on.
whole lot of fun. So that's my full-time gig. And so I have to do writing or whatever else around that. But it's been a lot of fun.
Well, I sure as hell need some good advice on marketing and promoting, because I absolutely totally suck at it. So
AI, I'm telling you.
I wonder why half my things don't have any viewers, or it's because I'm just terrible at that. I'm good at hosting the panels or doing spotlight interviews, and I love it. I love it so much, especially spotlights.
Yeah.
But as for putting the word out and letting people know that it's happening, that's I fail, big fail. So
Well, AI can do a lot of that for you. So like you
yeah,
plug in and say,
I've this week I have succumbed. I've stopped villainizing the AI, because I may be using the AI to open my rock store to help me with the descriptions, because you know how I get really long-winded, super long-winded. I don't need to sit in there and about one rock and talk all about it. I need the AI to help me there. And
yeah.
in 15 seconds, Rain is the one who showed it to me. 15 seconds, I can have it popped in there, all about it, and more details than I would have given.
Yeah.
And be done and move on to the next one, or I'll never get my store open. So
I totally understand.
yeah, I gotta stop villainizing the AI. So yeah.
If we don't have any more questions, we can bring
It
on.
looks like we're done with questions. We just got hearts flying across the screen. So would you show the logo? Are you able?
Yes. How do I do that from here?
There's, you know what? There's supposed to be a share screen thing.
Hold on, let me put it up on the screen first.
All right. Because I don't think I can do it from my portal. I'll definitely put it into the edited version that goes on YouTube.
Okay, so I only
I mean, Michelle.
have the one with the black background.
Okay.
And how do I?
Does it let you share screen?
I'm looking. The share screen. All right, so let me go over. There it is. Can y'all see it?
I see it.
So instead of rainbow stripes, that's with the black background. There's one with the white background too, and so you can see at the bottom. It's more like a medieval banner rather than gay pride.
And the colors are in a gradient.
Yeah, because our boundaries can change a little bit over time, or like we can get more refined in how we talk about it. How I talk about my stone is different now than it was 20 years ago when I first started talking about it, or 20 something years ago. It's a fleur-de-lis, so it's a nod toward the romanticism of stones. And then the upper part is more masculine looking. The bottom part is more feminine looking. And that's like a nod toward the Butch Femme dynamic, even though femmes are not necessarily smaller, Butches are not necessarily bigger. Like it just, and we're not all Butch and Femme. Sometimes we can
and
be
it's
both.
not the only dynamic among stones. It's
Exactly.
the predominant, but not the only one. Yeah.
Exactly. And then it's kind of a flame at the top just for the heat of who we are. I sent you these, and then there's like, I think I can do another one. No, it's not there. That's the non-binary one.
Okay.
So that it's got more of a gray and a pink, and that's a more non-binary feminine of center. You can't see that one. There's black on white. And then there's one where instead of
I see
black,
vector, and I think stencils all the time.
gotcha. And instead of black, it has white, so it's a bigger contrast and it's more rainbow focused. The rainbow is in exactly the same spot. It just, instead of all the black spaces, it's all white spaces. But I don't ever like to do anything that's all white centric. So I wanted to make another option available. And I didn't come up with these. Like I told the designer, I commissioned them, and I don't own them anymore. I released them into the wild. Anybody can use them for anything they want, including selling products and keeping 100% of the profits. Nothing is shared with me. I don't own these. They are owned by the community. They're owned by nobody. It's called, they've entered the Creative Commons.
Well,
so
thank you though for at least having requested something like this to be developed. That's
we needed that.
Yeah.
That coming back. Stop share. There we go. Yeah,
right on.
There you are. Dun, 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 dun.
Cool. There you are. Well, thank you for session 1.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm going to do the editing, get this uploaded to YouTube, and that generally happens within a week's time. But it probably happened a little sooner because I want to try and get it through there before session 2. So
okay, and when you get time, if you'll send me the book winners details, and I'll get those out, or at least
sure will.
So I can get them out. Yeah,
okay.
And then I'll send you a list of topics for next week so that we can go deep.
Okay, right on.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Day.
Victoria. Thank you very much.
Great host. Okay.
All right.
Talk to you later.
Guess I get to click this button now.